Morning.
Good morning, people.
We're trying this again today. Hopefully our stream is better. Yesterday it was all like pixelated. You guys got to watch the Matrix and listen to us, which is ridiculous.
Right.
But
and we are in the Matrix, by the way.
Yeah, is that what you're going to tell people? Yeah, why not?
That's all I
got. So talk about your workout. What did you do today?
Today I did back. I did my 10-minute grunge cardio routine, and then I did back and abs.
And abs, okay. And today I did arms. Today was arms, but because Chuck says good morning. Hi, Chuck.
Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning. Because I wasn't at the gym on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, I was at TEDx on Tuesday, and then we did networking yesterday. I also did some very functional exercises first, which have some cardio component to them. So I do this thing, and you guys are going to laugh at me because it seems ridiculous, but I do this thing where there's a trampoline that sits at an angle, and I take a 10-pound ball, it's about this big, and I throw it with this hand and catch it with this one and throw it with it. So it's really, see, it does this muscle because you throw and plus here, which is really great. And then I do another one with a bigger 10-pound ball that's kind of rubberized, where I do a squat and then I push it up against the wall and catch it, and push it up against the wall and catch it. And then there's one that I do, there's a bar that weighs 25 pounds, and I hold it like this and kind of swing it up and over and around. So those are really functional exercises that work upper body and core and that kind of thing. So I do those as well as then I did arms. But when I do arms, so yesterday Russ did arms, and he told you he does biceps and triceps, which I do when I do arms, but he also does forearms. I don't do special exercises for forearms. I feel like, my forearms are fine. They get enough residual workout.
And that's the ex-bodybuilder in me.
It is. He works his traps when he does shoulders. I don't feel the need to do shrugs. I don't do those.
But I don't know. I don't know.
So, so I did arms today. So I wanted to talk today, since we're fasting and we don't have any breakfast to show you, I wanted to talk about emotional eating and Pavlovian eating. Oh, I know. You can you still see it? I still have a tiny bit of a circle from the cupping I had done on Saturday. It's almost gone. So the jury's still out on whether it helped or not, but it's almost gone. But anyway, so we're going to talk about emotional eating and Pavlovian eating. And most people know what emotional eating is. And that's because when you eat, dopamine is released, and dopamine is a feel-good hormone. And so if you don't feel good, you eat and you feel better. And obviously you don't need the calories, but you need the dopamine. So I'm not going to talk super extensively about that because it's a pretty common thing.
And it usually involves some form of sugar.
Yeah, sugar is a big one. That way, and I used to have a friend when I was in undergrad who she would go to McDonald's and she would order from the drive-thru, and she would sit in her car and eat because it felt good, but she felt embarrassed about it. And I mean, that's a whole separate psychological issue that requires more than just, hey, let's have a live video for 10 minutes and talk about it. But if you're working with someone who is a nutritionist and has knowledge about such things, that's different than someone who has the psychology background to be able to help you with the emotional aspect of it. So consider that if you're going to work with someone on your nutrition and if you are an emotional eater. But I wanted to talk more extensively about Pavlovian eating.
Ding, 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 ding. Sorry.
He told me, he's like, I'm going to bring a bell. I'm like, I don't think we need a bell. But so I'm sure most of you know that Pavlov did studies with dogs where he paired eating with a bell. And over time, he was able to teach the dogs to salivate when hearing the bell. And there was no food, no smell of food, no anything like that, because they associated the bell with food. And what happens with humans, and I see this a lot with humans, is that they have Pavlovian responses to things like what time it is. I mean, how often have you looked at the clock and said, oh my word, it's 1:30, I haven't eaten lunch, I'm so hungry. You weren't hungry 30 seconds ago, but you looked at the clock and now suddenly you're hungry. That's a Pavlovian response. If you sit in front of the TV and you have to have, whatever,
chips.
Your snack. Russ is a chips fan.
Well,
nacho
chips. Nacho chips.
He likes the taco chip things.
Tortillas.
Yeah, tortillas. But so we don't have those in the house very often because he will eat the whole bag.
Good morning, Sophia.
Hey, it's good to see you, Sophie.
Sophie, sorry.
That's all right. So if you sit in front of the TV and you have to eat, that's a Pavlovian response. If you're the kind of person who eats by the clock, Pavlovian. Anything where you aren't actually hungry And so one of the things that I ask people when I talk to them about food and about how they eat and exercise is, do you know what it actually means to feel hungry? And I know I talked about this briefly before. If you have something specific you want to eat, chocolate, I like chocolate chip cookies, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I could eat a chocolate chip cookie. We don't have those in the house either because
or chocolate chips.
But yeah, at TEDx they had chocolate chip cookies, and guess what I had? I chewed chocolate chip cookies on Tuesday.
And I bet they were yummy.
They were super yummy. Oh,
coffee's done. The interesting thing about cravings is, I'm not a sugar eater. I don't really crave sugar.
He's lucky that way.
But I crave complex carbohydrates. That's why I like the tortilla chips as opposed to, I don't know, a piece of cake. Or one exception, don't throw cheesecake in front of me.
No, that's a bad thing.
That's a bad thing. So it's funny how some people have cravings for sugar, and some people, simple sugars, and some people have cravings for more complex sugars.
Which is what carbs are.
Which are what, like a tortilla chip is more of a complex carbohydrate.
Yeah. So what I would encourage you to do, if you're interested in fasting or not, regardless, is to really take stock in how are you eating and why are you eating. Are you eating because the clock says it's time that you should eat? And sometimes that makes sense. So for example, I think it was on Monday, our fast day on Monday, because of the plans that I had on Tuesday, and I knew I was going to have breakfast on Tuesday, we had our 500 calorie meal on Monday at like 5 or 5:30.
Yeah, that's about right.
I wasn't specifically hungry at that point, but I knew that I needed to eat because of the timing. So that's one thing. But if you eat because, oh, it's 8 o'clock, I have to have breakfast. Oh, it's 10 o'clock, I should have a snack. Oh, it's 12:30, I need to eat lunch. That's not because you're hungry. That's because it's a habit. And that's not necessarily productive eating.
And the interesting thing, to be fair, there are diets out there. One that comes to mind is one that says you should eat small meals every 2 hours. So then you're thinking, well, okay, then if it says every 2 hours, I need to watch the clock. But if you go by what we do with our fasting, that actually is
counterproductive.
Counterproductive, thank you, to what you should be doing, because that means you always have food in your system, so you're always in insulin state, so you're always, you're in the opposite of what we're trying to do.
Right, because if you're always in an insulin state, which constant eating keeps you in an insulin state, your body is always in go mode. It's always go, do, and it never is in repair mode. You have to give your body a break so it can go into repair mode. So I would definitely encourage you to think about when you're eating, why are you eating? What does hunger actually feel like? If you're hungry, you'll eat pretty much anything that's available because you're hungry.
Right.
So we should probably talk a little bit about low blood sugar, because that's something people talk about a lot when I talk about fasting, and they say, what about low blood sugar? I might pass out. Okay, so if you're hypoglycemic, which is a condition, then that's something else, and that's something you should talk to your medical doctor with. I do not have the expertise to give you any insight into hypoglycemia. Right. Howard says, good morning. Good morning, Howard. Hi. But if you're not hypoglycemic and you don't have those issues, then feeling that lightheadedness is because your body hasn't been taught to burn fat. And I mentioned this before when we've talked about fasting, is that especially on the American diet, they call it the standard American diet, which is SAD. Literally, the acronym is SAD. We haven't taught our bodies to burn fat because we just constantly put calories into our system so our blood sugar stays high. So when you first start fasting, I think it makes you a little more grumpy. I know sometimes by the time we get to our meal, I'm a little more short-fused, like stupid things annoy me. Did I tell you guys? I don't know if I told you guys. We were in the grocery store, and I like it when Russ walks next to me because he pushes the cart.
We told him that story.
And I was like, get up here, what are you doing? And that's a dumb thing to be annoyed about, right? If somebody's not like next to you in the grocery store, but it kind of irked me. What does Howard have to say this morning? Missed a couple of episodes. Did you talk about alcohol consumption while dieting and fasting? Yes. We did, yes, on Monday. So if you go back in my feed, we talk, or if you just click on the hashtag on our journey, it'll bring them all up. And so Monday, what day are we on?
Today's Thursday.
And we do it Monday morning or Monday in the afternoon?
I think we did it Monday morning. But
there might be two on Monday because we fasted Monday. So sometimes we pop on and show you guys our meal. So Howard, yes, go back to Monday, and the one that I talked about it on, it's actually in the description, and we talked about our thoughts on alcohol consumption.
Right.
So anyway, going back to fasting and body blood sugar, there we go, I can talk. Blood sugar is that your body will get used to it. You just have to be aware and stay hydrated. That is such a huge part of it. You have to stay hydrated when you're fasting. So, make sure you drink water. And that's advice I would give you regardless of whether you're fasting or not, is to make sure you take in water. And I know some people like to add lemon to their water. I turned your coffee off.
I'm watching the time because I have to.
Oh, yeah. You have a meeting today. Yes. That's right. So anyway, when you drink water, some people like to add lemon. Something to know about adding lemon, lime, any citrus to your water. Yes, it's very good for your digestive system. It can also be hard on the enamel of your teeth, which I did not know. My dentist told me that if you're constantly drinking water with citrus in it, it can be hard on the enamel on your teeth.
Right.
So something to consider. But I would highly recommend that you do drink water, whatever that is, whatever you like. In the wintertime, I drink hot water, which people think is really strange, but I don't know. I enjoy it. I like to drink hot water in the winter when it's cold. So if you have any questions about Pavlovian eating, emotional eating, how our bodies engage with dopamine in food, obviously I can talk about that pretty extensively because I do have a degree in psychology and I did study how dopamine works in our bodies. But I don't want to get into it here because emotional eating is
way above my head, folks.
Pretty common. But we're happy to have that conversation with you. And I don't know if we'll be back later with our fasting meal or not. Are you guys tired of watching me make a sweet potato? It's kind of boring. Yeah. But are you having a salad today, you think?
I'll probably have a salad, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see how it goes. But it's always good to see all of you guys. Thanks for popping in. And
absolutely.
You going to do our sign off, babe?
Yeah, and always remember to eat food, not too much, mostly plants.
Have a good one. Bye.